So welcome along, Lisa. It's so awesome to have you here on the Why She Adventures conversation series.
Thank you, Senka. It's really nice to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation and where it goes. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. I think, what did you say? A conversation with you is like what?
Yeah, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. There's so much information usually. I don't know when to shut up.
And then I was like, man, we are going to have one hell of a conversation. It is going to be so much fun. So I'm super stoked that you said yes, because you know, when I put this together, I was like, oh, who am I going to ask? And then I was like, of course, I think we'd connected previously about something I was looking at doing. And then I was like, oh, I legitimately have to ask Lisa to do this, because she is going to be an amazing woman to inspire so many women that are out there. So thanks again.
It's a real privilege to be on your show, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Cool. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, can you give them, now without the fire hose version?
Yeah.
What, like, for anyone who hasn't met you, what's the easiest way to say what you've done? Because I can try and explain it, and but I think it's better when it comes from you. So
so basically, I fell into this world of ultramarathon running when I was young. Well, quite young, but not that young. And so ultra marathon running is anything over 50 kilometers, right? So these are races that are 100K, 200K, 300K, that type of thing. And I was doing lots of adventurous things before that. I was had a boyfriend back in my early 20s who was a really extreme sort of an athlete guy. And we cycled through, I think it was 25 countries, and, climbed mountains, nothing wild mountains, but, just mountains. Trekked and canoed and kayaked and did all that sort of good stuff. So I was a really sort of outdoorsy kid. I didn't have any particular talent for running, and I still don't. That's the funny thing. But I got into doing long distance running. When that relationship broke up, as these things do, that broke up actually when I was crossing the Libyan desert. So I was doing an expedition with him and two other guys, and it was an illegal crossing of the Libyan desert through a military barred zone. Really don't recommend doing this at home, kids. And it was a 250K thing that we were doing. And in the middle of this, we had this big giant domestic, and basically he left me after a 5-year relationship. So that was awesome. That was one of those turning points in my life, where you go, I'm doing something wrong here. I make a joke of it, but it wasn't a joke back then, because we only had like 2 liters of water a day, because we had to carry our entire supplies on our back.
Wow.
We were trying to cover around 45 kilometers a day. And like the backpacks that I had, mine was 35 kilos, and I was only like 59 kilos at the time or something.
Wow. And 2 liters over that time, that's that many kilometers.
Yeah, with temperatures around 40 odd degrees. So we were extremely severely dehydrated the whole time, and of course that led to short tempers and things. So the upshot of that was I survived it, but it was pretty I damaged my body quite considerably with my kidneys and things, and the relationship went kaput after that, and which was the best thing to happen to me, really. But that's when I decided, okay, I want to keep having adventures, but I want to do it in a more controlled manner. So it took me a couple of years to recover from that physically before I could do something. But then I started reading about this. I found in a magazine a race called the Marathon des Sables, which is a race that's run in Morocco every year. And it's 240 odd kilometers across part of the Moroccan Sahara. And it was touted at the time as being the toughest race on earth. And I was like, hang on a second. Just did the Libyan desert, and that was like no support, 2 liters of water a day, 35 kilo backpacks, same distance, same, time roughly. And this was like, 240K, but we got 9 liters of water a day. You had doctors, you had journalists, you had support, you had, and the water was carried for you. All you had to carry was your food for the week and your equipment. So you had about 10 kilos on your back, maybe. And so I was thinking, hang on a minute, I reckon I could do this. It's got to be easier than the Libyan desert, right? But it was sort of touted as the toughest thing around. And I was thinking, well, I'm not a runner. I haven't really run before, but I reckon I could do this. So I signed up for that, and then the rest is history, basically. I did that one and loved it, absolutely loved it. And it was just amazing to be surrounded. There were 700 people on this race. Now there's, I think, 1,500 odd. It's a huge event. And you got people from every country, and you just meet the most amazing people, and you're all on this big mission together, and it's tough, but it's doable, and it's eye-opening. For me, I had very low self-esteem at that time in my life. I had no, relationship just broken up, and I've been told for years by this guy that I was useless and I was hopeless and I'd never amount to anything. And stupidly, I believed all that crap, as you do when you're young. And so when I broke out on my own, if you like, and started doing this racing, and people were going, wow, you're amazing, this is awesome, and what you're doing is incredible. And it was like, oh, really? Oh, I was always told I was useless, And so that really resonated with me. I really needed that uplifting sort of talk from people, and that sort of confidence building stuff. So I went then and just did one race after the other, because I was addicted to it after the first time because it was so successful. And, it was brutal, hard sometimes, but it was never as bad as that time in the Libyan desert. So it was always like relative.
I was just going to say, because obviously by contrast, you've gone through that whole, a lot more solo-supported one through the, self-supported through the Libyan desert. And then you look at this other one and you're like, that's kind of a walk in the park, loosely saying it.
It wasn't, but
By comparison. So how did you find actually doing that race? Do you think that kind of was like the lever to push you forward into more of what you wanted to create?
Oh, absolutely. It was a life-changing event for me, because like I said, I had such poor self-esteem, and when you start hearing from people the opposite of what you've been told for years, that you are great and you're doing really well, and you've just got lovely people that are supporting you, because that's the type of people that do these events. They're all on a mission together, and it's not really about the top 3 guys who are winning the race. It's more about the camaraderie, and we're all battling through our difficulties together. And that just really resonated with my spirit at the time, where I really needed that teamwork, that camaraderie, that feeling of belonging and achieving something quite extraordinary. And so, that was just then led to, I went back and did it the following year, and then I just did one race after the other, as much as I could afford, basically. And so, it was pretty phenomenal in those first few years. And I had no idea what I was doing. Back then, especially, there wasn't a lot of guidance on things like, how do you run an ultra marathon? How do you eat? How do you, how much water do you need? How much electrolytes? What gear? Everything was back in the pioneering stages of this sort of event. So it was all just have a crack and see how you go, and try not to die in the process.
That's actually a really interesting topic. How much do you think the game has changed in that sense then, that, back then it was like you kind of haphazarding a guess at stuff because there's not all the things around, and then now it's like there's so much resources, so much, the equipment's better, your nutrition, everything like that is just like a whole nother level. How do you think the races compare now, to when you were doing them when you started out? And not to take away from the fact that they're fucking hard.
They're really freaking hard. So the races themselves haven't changed. They're all tough, but the fact that, it's just like with mountaineering and stuff, when Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Everest, it was a hell of a lot harder, really, because no one had done it for starters. But, the gear that you had was so much less. And by the same token with us as well, there was a lot less available. And now, as a coach, and now I, train people from all around the world. We train over 600 people, and not all doing ultras. Some of them are doing, 5K events, and some are doing ultras, but I can shortcut the process for them. I can help them not make the same mistakes. And I can, most importantly, I think as a coach now, I can stop people, or try to at least prepare people so that they don't hurt their bodies, because there's a lot of dangers involved in pushing the body to these sorts of extremes that isn't often talked about. We often look at the glory of, running Death Valley or something, but I tell you what, I've got some serious damage done to my body that I didn't know what I was doing, and that caused, kidney damage, and then you know, burnout and thyroid and adrenal problems. And, you know, that's quite a common combination of things. Not everybody, but there's a lot of people that have pushed the body to the limit. And now we know how to prepare the body well and hopefully avoid those worst case scenarios. And so in that respect, there's you know, as a coach, like, we can shortcut the process for people. They don't have to go and, you know, reinvent the entire world to get there. We know how to get people there, and we know how to do it in a holistic manner that keeps people relatively safe from harm. Unless you've got a really crazy people, and we've got a few of those. And then
I think every sport has,
yeah,
I think every sport has their like loose units, let's call them, who are just like fucking smashing this shit out. So
and we love those people. And we just try and keep them, you know, as safe as we can, you know, like while they're doing it. So preparing and mitigating the dangers and so on. Like, we got one of our head coaches, Carlos Kumiroa, is an amazing guy. He actually coaches for us now. But he tried to do 12 ultras in 12 months over 100K, so including 100 milers, multi-day stage races, 24-hour races. So every month of these. And we, you know, we controlled all his blood tests and had all the preparation. He's a health coach as well, and we tried to keep him safe. But after the 12 events, he's still got major problems, you know. He's still got some major issues now that we're trying to unravel and trying to stop him from going back and doing some more before we've got his body back to where it should be. So, you know, sometimes our mind can be stronger than our bodies, and that's an interesting phenomenon too. But yeah, so in the ultra marathon running world too, it's such a different world to say the city marathons or triathlons. It's much more about surviving, and it's about the experience that you have, and it's much more about adventure and camaraderie, and it's not so much about winning. You know, like, every person who crosses the finish line of any one of those races is celebrated like a winner, because you know, the guys who win have actually had it a lot easier than the dudes who are at the back, because they've done it for twice as long, and everybody gets that. So it's a cool sport in that way. It's also a cool sport in the fact that women are on an equal footing with guys, pretty much. You know, the longer the race, the more equal the footing.
Really? Can we talk into that? Because that is a pretty, like, my sister, like I said, she's a Wakarama world champion, and she talks about the endurance stuff, that we're more capable, you're on a much more equal footing. And then there's like sneaky little advantages that she's like, you know, through pregnancy, your own heart expands to help with baby's growth and stuff like that. So her coach was like, the sooner she got back into training after baby, the more that her heart will stay in a more expanded state. So that puts her into like another little secret weapon ahead of that sort of stuff. So I think as women, it's like we can sometimes go, oh, but men are stronger and fitter than us. And to some degree that's true. But then there's like this stuff that you're just about to talk into, is like there's other things that we can do so much better.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, and it isn't, you know, that's what I love. It's not so much a thing about the sexes, because everybody is struggling out there, and it's tough for both. But women have a few advantages when it comes to the really long stuff, especially because it's not about muscle power and it's not about speed. It's more about the mindset and your ability to cope with pain. It's also our ability to burn fat is more efficient on average, talking generally now, than the guys. So there's a number of advantages that we have when it comes to the super long stuff. And if it's say 100 Ks, then there'll be a difference between the sexes. If it's 300 Ks, not so much. You know, I've been in races like La Ultra in the Himalayas where, you know, it was won by a woman. Badwater, it's been won by a woman a few times. And certainly in the top 5, you know, it's very neck and neck. So the really long races can be actually quite, you know, it evens the playing field, so to speak. Yeah. So there's some good things about it, you know, and I just think we have more of ability to suffer in general. Probably, you know, childbirth and, you know, long-suffering woman having to cope with a lot of crap in their lives. And that makes us mentally stronger, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a generalisation, of course.
Again, total, yes.
But
Just full disclaimer, we're speaking generally.
We can get.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, it comes to the fact that if you're the primary caregiver of your children and stuff like that, then it's like you are having sleepless nights. You are having to get up and function outside of, you know, through sleep deprivation and all that sort of stuff. So you can't tell me that doesn't build resilience within yourself.
Yeah, mental resilience. And this is the whole benefit, I think, of taking on big adventures, whether they're running or, you know, whatever, is that that's outside your comfort zone. It scares the crap out of you. You have to learn discipline in your approach and preparation. You have to learn how to overcome obstacles. You have to learn to be able to deal with people going, what the hell are you doing? And you can't do that, because you're going to get a lot of that. And that can be in your immediate family and your friends even. You have to learn, you know, all the preparation side of it, risk mitigation. You have to plan properly. If you get out in the middle of the desert and you've forgotten your water bottles, you're in deep poo, you know. It's not good. You better have the best gear. You better have tried everything out. You better have tested all the food that you're going to be running with, and all these things can help you in your career. And this is something I, you know, definitely want to talk about in a little while. The story with my mum and how that stuff that I learned in running and doing extreme events really helped me for a real world situation, you know. And there's a lot of crossover.
Let's talk about that now then, because, you know, I think before Lisa and I got on the call, I just sort of ran through a few of the things that I've found out and read about her and that sort of stuff. And, you know, it's funny when you read a few things about people and you kind of really connect with them as a person. I'm like, you know, your heart feels for somebody. So with the situation with your mum, and I said to you, you know, I actually lost my mum really suddenly. Yeah. So it's like, you know, the challenges that arose from just all of that has been, you know, it takes you to a point that you can't ever come back from in terms of growing who you are. So let's definitely talk into that space, because I think that you're like right on it, where it's like the stuff that you do on these races, adventuring, just even in general, not even the big ultras and stuff, what they do prepare you for in everyday life.
They do. And this is what I'm most passionate about teaching now, is all this mindset and mental toughness and emotional resilience stuff, and this is definitely stuff that I learned while doing all these events in different ways and in different circumstances over the time, because you're pushing your absolute limits of what you think you're capable of. If you're scaring the crap out of yourself and you're having to deal with really difficult situations and not panic and being able to cope. And so I had a situation, with my mum, like 3.5 years ago now, she had a major aneurysm, which is a bleed in the brain, and then on top of that, a stroke as well. So she was deep shit. So when we first had this happen, the doctors ignored it and thought it was a migraine headache, and I didn't know what the hell to do. And so long story short, she was 18 hours before she actually got taken into surgery, and before anything was done. And that's usually fatal, you know. The bleed was so huge, they didn't expect her to live. And when she did, she pulled through the first night, and then they had to do another operation, and then she was in and out of a coma for the next 3 weeks or so, fighting for her life. And in this time, after that first muck up, I decided, right, I'm expedition leader. I have to get my team across the line. I have to be the one that's not going to let this happen again, because I've been caught out, you know, because it was out of the blue, bang, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I just started to, what I call going into like operational mode. I just went into deep, like studying like everything I possibly could about her condition, quizzing the doctors, not just taking their answers as the gospel. So I just really started to question everything and everyone and be on everyone's case, and just watching and just having that determination. I remember my dad coming up to me on the first hour that we heard that what had happened, and that, you know, we didn't even know the implications, but everyone was looking like she wasn't going to live. And my dad said, oh, we better start preparing for the funeral. And I just grabbed him and just went, no fucking way. She's breathing and we're fighting, and we're going to fight with everything we got, and we're going to get her back. And that's what you need to do when someone's in a crisis. You need to, like, right, I want you to go and get this organised. Ring Auntie so-and-so, get the boys down to Wellington. Do these functional things to just stop their brain from completely spinning out, and then have a start to develop a battle plan on the fly. So for me, it was really important then to be, like, I've got 2 younger brothers, be strong for them as much as I could. Like I was falling to pieces inside, but
oh, of course, as you would.
Yeah.
I've been
Like when
in
I
the
was
ICU and all of that is just, it's not a place that you want to be. So ever,
No,
I wouldn't
no.
wish that on anybody.
No, you know what it's like. It's horrible. I mean, we were lucky mum survived, but so I really tried to take that leadership role. I tried to treat it like this is a mission that we're all on together, and our mission is to get mum back. And we don't know what's coming at us. We know it's going to be bad, but we don't know whether she's going to survive. And if the doctors do their job properly, and I picked up a whole lot of things, even in the hospital, that the doctors didn't pick up. And that, even those things were crucial to her staying alive. Now, if I hadn't been studying my ass off and really trying to research what was going on, I picked up that she had like sleep apnea, that she wasn't breathing at night and things like this. And those things were really crucial. And then when, after 3 months in hospital, she was not improving, she was like lights on, but nobody home. She had no higher intelligence, for the want of a better description. She didn't know who I was. She had no ability to move her limbs in any coordinated fashion. Her right side had been fully paralyzed and was only starting to come back, but she had no, like if I said lift your hand, she didn't know what a hand was or how to lift it. She couldn't push a button, didn't know anything. And they said, look, she's never going to do anything again. The brain damage is so massive. You have to put her in an institution and she won't live probably from more than a few weeks. And I just went, no, that ain't fucking happening. And I'm not giving up on my mum. And I don't care what you guys say, she's coming back. And I had to have that absolute belief that I could get, even though it was completely unreasonable and even though it was against the odds. Sometimes if you have that absolute belief and you're going to make this happen no matter what, that alone can galvanize things. And I'm a true believer of the law of attraction, and that what you put out in the universe is, going to partly come back to you. And I knew at any stage we could lose her, but I was going to, it wasn't going to be because I missed something, and if I could have any control over it, then I was going to give it everything. So after 3 months, they were going to take her out of the hospital and put her in an institution, and I really fought tooth and nail to get her home, because I believed if I could get her home in her environment, she might start to remember things and so on. And I wanted to try something called hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is one of the therapies that I'd picked up on my studies as being possible. And this thing should be in every hospital and all over the world. It's the most amazing therapy. And it's not. And I had to go to a diving company and ask them if I could use their chamber. And they were like, okay. They showed them the evidence, and they were amazing people, and they allowed us to do it. And the upshot of that was we had 33 treatments there, and then she started to wake up. And she started to come back, and she started to have just a little flicker of intelligence. We're not talking like a sudden, improvement, but just little bits of things that I was noticing she was improving. So then the chamber got taken off overseas on a contract. So I had to mortgage the house, buy a hyperbaric chamber and install it, work out how to operate this bloody thing. And then I put her through another couple of 100 sessions, like back to back. And I had a protocol that I'd worked out, studying under a Dr. Harch in America. And as she started to come back, then I had something to work with. So I would spend hours every day just moving her body for her, because I didn't want her to stiffen up and her to get things like drop foot and mobility to, be hampered and all the rest of it. So that when she did wake up or come to, or whatever you want to call it, she would have something to work with. If I just left her in the bed lying there, she would have wasted away and lost all the muscle mass. And so I did everything I possibly could to keep her muscle mass and all that there, and keep her mobility. And as she started to come back, then I stayed one step ahead of her in my rehabilitation. So I studied everything from functional neurology to neuroscience to nootropics, which are brain enhancing drugs, to physio, to, you name it, I was trying it. And I just weighed up everything. What was the risk? What was the reward? And it was often against the medical advice, and I pushed really hard. Like, I know that people are capable of so much more than what any of us think they are. I've seen amazing things, and so I believed that we could get her brain to do stuff again. And I believed in something called neuroplasticity, which is the ability to retrain itself. And all the evidence suggested that at 74, you're kidding. But we did. I retrained her whole brain. So long story short, now 3.5 years later, and working with her every single day, 7 days a week, and I still work with her like that. She is now fully independent again. It took me 1.5 years for her just to be able to roll over in bed. It took just over 1 year for her to be able to stand upright without collapsing. And every inch of the way I would come up against new problems, so it's been a massive grinding process of having to rehabilitate her whole brain. So retraining it like you would with a toddler, teaching it to walk, except they don't learn quick. When you're 77 now, they don't learn quickly. It has to be reinforced thousands and thousands of times. So the patience that you have to have, the ability to fight through, to be relentless and to keep grinding on every single day when you don't see any improvements for months on end, that's where being an ultramarathoner is the best thing you could have possibly been. Because you're just used to grinding out day in, day out training, day in, day out training, and then pushing through the limits. And now, she's fully independent. She's got a full driver's license, her full power of attorney back. She's fully intelligent, normal intelligence again. And she's about 90% back to where she was before. And I'm working on 110%. I want her back stronger and fitter than she was before this.
That's an absolutely phenomenal story. Like, I had no idea to the extent that this conversation would go. And like, what really stood out for me was just your being unreasonable and your expectations. And it made me think how short we come up on what we either want or expect, and just in life in general, that we sell ourselves a little bit short on what that is. So the fact that you were so relentless and
we lost it. That's a good.
Sorry.
Got you back?
Yeah. Yep, I'm back. I'm back from outer space. I'm just going to do some extra power in here. Yep. The fact that you were so unwavering in your belief of what you knew to be possible, or believed to be possible, because the proof wasn't there for you.
No,
you were building that. And I loved your saying about building your battle plan on the fly as well, that it's just like the ability to be so adaptable and to have a goal, at unreasonable goal and belief that it's going to be, and then to do that battle plan on the fly. All of that just totally stood out for me and amongst that, because it's like, how short do we sell ourselves sometimes in life, and the things that we want to go for, not just the adventure stuff, doing that ultra marathon or that sort of stuff. It's like, what else do we want our lives to be in addition to that? That we have full choice on the type of life that we want to have. And it's like, when I don't think we're ever at the mercy of I think events help shape us, but we still have a choice to choose how we respond to anything, and we are fully responsible for the life that we're currently living. And if we don't like it, freaking change it.
Yeah. And
because
I love that ownership of the shit pile that you've created. That's your life. Yes. And we've all created one, believe me.
Yes, we have.
Taking ownership for that, instead of going, XYZ happened to me when I was young and therefore I'm like I am. Nah, I don't care. Like, doesn't matter what happened. Are you going to let that crap that happened to you, that was probably not your fault, or some horrible thing that happened to you, are you going to let that destroy your future? Not the future of the person that did it to you, or whatever the case may be, but your future. It's just like when you get angry at somebody, someone cuts you off in traffic, I always use that as an example, and you get angry, does the other person give a shit? No. Have you just destroyed your day? Yes, because you've created all the stress hormones. You've got emotionally charged. That's going to make you feel weaker afterwards. You're going to be, the stress levels in your body are going to be worse. So you've actually damaged yourself, not the other bloke who cut you off. And it's the same thing when horrible stuff happens to you, and you've had horrible stuff, losing your mum. Now you could either let that break you, or you could go, well, what would mum want me to do? And what am I meant to be here for? And how can I still carry on going, you know, and it's not to say that you don't have the times where you're on the floor bawling your eyes out, because believe me, you and I probably both had those.
Yeah.
But, you know, where you're just absolute despair, and you think, there were times with mum that I really thought I was breaking. Like I was mentally and utterly, physically and emotionally just absolute empty, because I was running my 2 companies, and, you know, I couldn't stop working because I need to make a living. And people were like, we just, you know, don't do that part of it. What? And then not pay my mortgage, and then I can't look after my mum, and I can't pay for all the supplements and the therapies that I want to get for her. There wasn't a choice. My business had to work, and my mum had to work. And so I had no option but to go hard out for the last few years. And that means burning out a little bit, yeah. And I try to put, you know, whenever I get a chance now, I'm trying to recover myself, because I know I put a hell of a load on my body doing that. And I did get sick in that a few times. But it's knowing that sometimes you just got to go hard for a short period of time to get through things. If you drop the ball on one, like I could have dropped the ball on the businesses, I wouldn't have had a job to come back to, you know. So I had to keep that going as well as look after mum. And you can do it, you know, like mothers do it all the time when they've got kids and things, and fathers, you know, that are working big careers and having to look after sick kids and things. You know, we all do exceptional things when we need to, and it's understanding when you have a big, massive goal that you really want and you're going all in, that fact that you are all in makes success not an option, and then you're far more likely to succeed. There's
oh my gosh.
But you're far more likely to get there.
I literally have got chills when you talk about this, because it's like, and this is where I think, like, as you know, when I talk to athletes and people that have that really strong higher purpose, there isn't any option except to do that thing. So I know I keep talking about my sister a lot. It's just because it seems to be really relatable for, I am proud of her. I think she's an amazing role model for a lot of mums out there.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you know, she had to take a maternity leave, and she knew she wanted to start her business, and it was like, her drive is to not have to go back to work for someone else, is to get her business. So there is for her no option except to make the business work. If she wants to have time with her kids, if she wants to be a present mum, if she wants to do the thing that she loves, contribute to the community that's given so much to her, not an option, not negotiable. I'm sorry, there is no other option. Yeah. And it goes back to that thing that I think in everyday life, we can not sometimes put those big lines in the sands and make those big commitments for ourselves on the things that we want to do, whether it's a fun thing. Like I've always wanted to go in, like for me, it was like, I always wanted to live out of a camper van or something like that and travel the New Zealand for like a tourist. Cause I was like, get to see these amazing places, meet amazing people. And that was a decade-long wish. And then one day I just woke up and went, what the fuck am I waiting for? Like, I could die tomorrow. Like, mum passed in 6 days from being not well to gone. And I was like, am I going to, like, what are these things that I've got to do for me? Because it's not about the thing. It's not about the trip around the South Island and North Island. It was freaking awesome, don't get me wrong, and challenging. I learned so many things about myself as a person, like if you're an extrovert, too much time alone is not good for you, for your mental wellness. So it was like, but it was the commitment to the thing, then like you say, the preparation and the journey to get to do the thing. And then, you know, when you're doing the thing, there's all the stuff that folds out from learning on who you are. So
that obstacles that come, and you have to adapt on the fly thing, you know, that's a really important aspect of it. And like life, when you, like, I'm 51 tomorrow, and it's like,
happy early birthday.
Well, no, it's like horrifying. And I'm like, life is so much shorter than I thought it was going to be, like it's just, it scares the crap out of me. Like, it's like, I want to do so much more. And prioritizing things is the toughest thing, but we've got to live as if there is no tomorrow, because, like your mum, you just don't know when it's all over. And this is why with something like with my mum, I didn't want to, you know, and like now even working with her, I've just come back from the gym with her, and you know, I treasure every day now, whereas before I might have, you know, gone on, I don't know, I was totally focused on my athletic stuff that I was doing, my races that I was always doing, and I was quite selfish in that, you know, when I look back. And, you know, it probably cost mum and my other friends and other people a lot of my time and energy that I didn't have for them. And so now in my life at the moment, I can't go and do those big adventures overseas or whatever. And that's fine. I've done that. I've been there. I know that I can do it. I've done it 1,000 times. What's important now is that I give back to my family, and that I can look myself in the mirror as well and know that I've done everything possible to when I needed to do it. And that's really, really important to me. And there are times when, as an athlete, you're like, you know, I can't do what I used to do, and I'm not able to roll out of bed and run 100 Ks. And it's like, oh, boo-hoo, get over yourself. Freaking out, you know.
First world athlete problems.
Exactly, you know. And when you're working with people with disabilities, as I've worked with a few now, because I opened up a hyperbaric clinic and stuff after having so much success with mum, which I've now sold. But then you really get a new perspective when, you know, like I've had a bad 10K run today or whatever. It's like, well, they can't even put their shoes on, you know, they can't go to the toilet by themselves, they can't stand on their own, you know. It's like, and they're smiling and they're getting on with life. And then that sort of really relativizes a whole lot of stuff for you, you know.
It's,
what's important.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like there's, you know, I think all these challenges that come up through life, they're the things that prepare you for this sort of stuff. So like you say, all the ultra marathons that you did that taught you how to be really unrealistic in what you are planning to do, like how that then just reflects so much in life. And it's like all that stuff happens to prepare you for those big moments, whether it's big life stuff like what happened with your mum and some other challenges that you've had, or whether that's preparing you for other adventures and other races and other expeditions that are coming up. It's like that rubber band, you can't ever put it back. It will never go back once it's been stretched. Like like our neural pathways and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You're just so onto it, you know, like, and you know, with mum, I threw everything at it, and I was lucky I got her back. With we've been trying for years to have children, and I had a miscarriage when I was 46, which was really late in the piece anyway, and you know, it was devastating. And then I because I'm stubborn and I never wanted to give up, I got a surrogate mum. And then we went through that whole journey, and then she got pregnant and we were like static. And then we got to the 6 months, and then baby came early, and it went through the whole birth process. So little Joseph was born on the 12th of March this year, and he only lived for 2 hours, and then we lost him, you know, and it was just so freaking heartbreaking.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Lisa.
Yeah, but you know, like I threw everything into that, having a child, and I've failed, you know, or we didn't succeed in that dream, you know. And so you can never know. You can't go through life half pie. You're either in or you're out, you know. And even though we lost Joseph, it took me a while, but I had to find the blessings in that,
yes.
You know. And the blessings, even in the shittiest of things to go through, and to go through it with my surrogate family. But look, like the blessings to come out of that he was alive and he was a part of our life for a very, very short time. He's brought two families together. So Nicole is her name, Nicole Briscoe, and her husband, Kane, they're just like brother and sister to me now. You know, I love them and I love their kids, like, you know, it's their whole families are now close to our whole families, you know. It's just, there's always a blessing somewhere in amongst the crap. My husband, who is very, you know, quiet and shy type of person who didn't really want to step up in his job to the next level, which he should have been because he's a fireman, has now gone, stuff it. My boy didn't get to live. I'm going to live for him, and I'm going to go. I'm not going to be this shy person anymore. I'm going to go for it. And he's going for his officer's job on Wednesday. So, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you can take things. And, you know, and I do believe, you know, I'm not religious, but I do believe that there is, you know, a place where my little boy went, and he, you know, I just think his body was broken, and he'll come back in another shape, or form when he's ready, you know, whether it's to us or to somebody else, you know. And it's just, you have to sort of try and make sense of the whole thing for yourself, and none of us really know. But I read a wonderful book, which I highly recommend to everyone listening, called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. And this is all about how your beliefs changed your whole cellular, you know, your genes, how it changes the way your genes express, and on a cellular level, how much your thought processes and your beliefs really change your actual physiology, and also how much influence you have in the world just through your thoughts and stuff, and how powerful that is. And this is coming from a science background, not a religious background. It's a really fascinating book. I highly recommend that.
Beautiful. Biology of Belief, is that what it's called?
Biology of Belief.
It's going on the list, because there's, I fully funnily enough, fully believe in that stuff. And it's so interesting, like you talk about beliefs and that, and what shapes us, and what from the past and things like that. And, you know, reflecting back on your story of, you know, being with that guy at the time who was feeding you those clearly not truths about who he believed you were, and then you buying into that belief. But where you are now, like, how have you shifted in your belief about who you are and what you bring to the world? Because this is obviously, this is going to provide evidence that it's like your beliefs can change.
Oh yeah, massively. And, you know, we go through these experiences, and I'm, you know, not angry at him or anything. We're both young kids, and, you know, both had issues, but it is what you do with that then, you know. And every horrible thing that you can go through, you've gone through it anyway. You might as well turn it into something good, a learning, something that you can help somebody else with. You become wiser, you become more understanding, instead of letting it hold you back. And that's easier said than done, but it's a process. If you're willing to work on yourself. And actually in that book, The Biology of Belief, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about the conscious and the subconscious mind, and how we on a conscious level can want to change and read the self-help books and listen to these good interviews and think, right, I'm going to do that. And then we just keep coming up against this Goliath of our subconscious that is actually controlling our life. And so we actually have to go in and reprogram some of those programs that we're running on autopilot, if you like. And these were often things that were downloaded in our early childhood or in our youth, you know, like that experience where it became ingrained into you that you weren't worthy, in my case, so you weren't lovable, you were unattractive, you were hopeless at this, you were, you know, whatever it was that you downloaded at the time. And that just carries around with you then, and all your behaviors are sabotaged by that belief system. And so you can consciously go around and going, right, positive affirmations, and that's good, but it's not enough. You have to reprogram that part of the subconscious. And I do that. There's lots of different methods to do that. One of them is self-hypnosis and things like that, or going to a hypnotherapist, or there's a few other ways to try and reprogram that subconscious. But you really are, like, the conscious brain only processes 40 bits of data a second, and the subconscious something like 20 million bits of data. And so everything we do, whether it's driving the car or getting our groceries, we're doing 90% of it on autopilot. And, you know, you might be driving along and you're like, hang on, I can't remember the last 10 minutes. You know, like, you know how you have that sort of sensation, like, shit, where was I for 10 minutes? I was in my head doing something or talking to somebody, and then I realized, but I've still been driving the car quite safely, obviously, but it's been on autopilot. And that is the power of the subconscious. And the subconscious mind is not creative. It's just a tape recorder. It tape records everything that happens to you and turns those into beliefs and limiting beliefs very often. You know, if you were as a child told that you are unlovable and unworthy, that's what you're going to come out with as an adult. And you'll likely sabotage your relationships, because even though you want to love and to be lovable, your subconscious goes, that doesn't match up with my identity in here, so I'm going to sabotage it. And then, you know, when you find yourself doing stuff that you're like, I don't even know why I did that. You know, I didn't want to do that. and I still did it, that's your subconscious. And then you know you've got a problem in that area that needs to be worked on. And yeah, doing all that is a topic for another discussion. But
I know, this is so juicy, because this is the stuff I really love to talk about.
yeah,
Because it's like, I know that when we're going for anything in life, we will often find that we do have our own glass ceilings that we hit, that we kind of go, like you say, I want to have this thing in my life, and then it's like bump, bump, bump. We keep bumping around it, and then we have these blind spots of like our subconscious that's got these underlying messages that are wrapped around it. And usually it's you know, the funny thing of it all is that part is actually just trying to keep us safe from feeling those things again. So you know, those parts are there to serve us. It's just we have perhaps put too much on the whole safety element of us expanding and growing and going for those things. So
yeah, because that is what the subconscious job is to do, is to keep you safe and to make sure that everything lines up with what you believe. And you will create these things in your world and your reality that you don't want to create, because it's already in there. So it really pays to go and start looking at what are the glass ceilings that I've made for myself. What are the programs that I downloaded as a kid without, because when you're a kid, you don't even know anything. There's no filter, there's no judgment. Oh, you know, when dad's yelling at you because you were naughty or whatever, you don't have a filter to say, well, dad had a bad day and his boss yelled at him and that's why he yelled at me. All you see as a kid is, I'm bad, you know. That's what you internalize, and when that happens repeatedly, that's what you come away with. And you don't have a filter. As an adult, we can go, well, mum was just having a shitty day, or dad was, you know, and we can relativize it. But a child can't do that because it hasn't got that. It's in the theta brain wave state, which is a state of being like, just like a tape recorder. It's just taking it all in and not filtering it, you know. And that's therefore the danger with young children, and trying to give them the positive messages and so on.
Yeah, and I think the thing too to remember then, for anyone who's watching this and they're like, fuck, I know I'm hitting against some glass ceilings, and you know, you might becoming aware of some behaviors that you're like, well, I don't really like that and I'd like to change it. Is to not make anything wrong. So it's like nothing is wrong in when it comes to growing and stuff like that. So we can easily make parts of ourselves really wrong for having protected us. And then the last thing that our subconscious is going to want to do is go, oh, cool, sis, I like the way you're talking to me. So, you know, here you go. I'm going to unravel and become a new belief. But it's like that by acknowledging it and for what it's, I guess, for what it's actually done, because it has protected you and looked after you to this point, just know that there's actually nothing wrong with you. There actually is genuinely nothing wrong with who we are. It's just we are bumping up against those things, and those parts of us that have either been in our blind spots, or for some people like actually kind of floating around in a bit of our peripherals. It's like there's still nothing wrong with that. It's just like finding out where the space of growth is, and that can be really uncomfortable to lean into sometimes. And I think that's why people avoid creating change as well, because it's like, oh, that feels really uncomfortable to look at myself and see that I'm doing this thing and I'm responsible for it and I have a choice on it. And it's like, it's just a little too much. So I'm just going to recoil and go back to my little safe bubble.
Yeah, exactly. You beautifully put. And, you know, like we all do that, and we all have times when we, you know, creep out of our little comfort zone and then put our head back in because it's too scary out there. But it's just lifting those horizons up, and then that's what you're doing with your adventure girls is really important. Like when you take people and you put them in new situations that scare the crap out of them, they are going to remember those days because they're going to be always special. Like that time when you went, I don't know, whitewater rafting or whatever, you're not going to forget it. You're also going to learn on that occasion, and you're going to lift your horizon up just a tiny bit. You know? And every time you lift your horizon, then the next time is not so scary. That, you know, you're expanding your world, if you like. By the same token, when you stop doing it, then you very quickly start to shrink your world back in again. This is, you know, really clear with running. When I was doing the, you know, massively big long races, it was like no problem to just, you know, get out of bed and do a marathon every Saturday or whatever, and then, you know, back it up on the Sunday. And now, because I haven't been doing the long stuff because of life and mum, oh my God, it's like huge. To go out for a 20K run, like, would be massive, you know, for me right now. So my horizon has shrunk in, you know, and there's actually nothing like, yes, there's some physical training in there that is the difference, but it's actually more here that has come in because it's over a period of time I haven't been practicing it. By the same token, other things have expanded in that time, and you can't be good at everything all the time is the other thing. And carrying around tons of guilt and shame, which most of us do, is really detrimental to the amount of energy we can bring to the projects. If we can start to let go of the fact that, you know, we can't be everything to all people at all times. If we can start to let go of the shame or the guilt that we've been carrying around because we did something bad when we were 14 or some stupid thing, you know, we made a mistake somewhere, the quicker we can get rid of the guilt and just understand we're all humans and we've all done stupid stuff, and start to make a clean slate from here on in, and then lighten that load, because otherwise you're carrying around this massive backpack of guilt and shame and disappointment, and then you haven't got the energy for every single day. You know, you're replaying all that crap over and over and over in your head instead of going, okay, I'm going to look at this thing that happened or I did or whatever, and I'm going to forgive myself and I'm going to move on and let it go, because it's not going to help me in the future. It's just a big, you know, you try and carry around a 50-kilo backpack all day, you know, of course you're not going to achieve much, because you're like, you know, you're exhausted before you even get out of the gate.
And that's time and energy that you can spend on other areas of your life. I always talk about doing the things that matter to you with the people that matter to you. Like, that for me is one way that I like to, I don't want to say this and say that it's the only measure for life, but it's like, it's my way of checking in on how am I doing my life? Am I doing the things that matter to me with the people that matter to me? Because that, at the end of the day, when I go, that's all that's gonna matter, that I did the things that matter to me, because my version is different to your version, different to anyone who's watching this, and the people that are important to you. And for some people that's, you know, partners, family. Some people, family is not important because they don't have those types of relationships, and their friends are their family, and that's all okay. So it's about not making anything wrong and just making what matters to you, for you, with the people that matter, the priority of life.
Yep. And being, you know, passionate about what you do and enjoying this time on earth, you know, and not putting any limits. Of course, you know, we have to do work that we don't like doing. And I'm not saying go through life and don't do the shit that you don't want to do. Because then, like, you have to learn discipline. You got
to do the mahi, right?
You've got to do the grind. You know, like we were talking before about our online businesses and how we hate the technology, but I have to do it. There's no one going to for a long time I was looking for the knight in shining armor to take that part of it away, and nobody came. I had to work it out.
Yeah, because you have to, and this would be relevant for adventures, life. You can't shortcut stuff. You can't go, I've run 5Ks and now I want to run an ultra marathon and then go and smash one out the next week. You have to do the mahi, you have to do the work, you have to do the learning, you have to do the growing, you have to build that resilience, because no one's going to take that for you, whether it's life stuff or doing adventures or races or anything like that. So
yeah, unfortunately, we have to actually do the hard work and do stuff you don't like. You might have heard of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki and stuff, and he's very much into money and stuff, which is cool. But he does say one great thing that I thought was good is that don't just concentrate on the thing you're passionate about, because everybody wants to do what they're passionate about. I want to do this business of running because I'm passionate about it and helping people and mental toughness, but I do actually have to learn all the boring accounting, the Facebook ads, the whatever that stuff is, because that goes along with it. And if I don't learn that, then I will not be successful in my passion. You know, so I better get one out there. So you do have to do the hard work.
I love it.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, if you thought you were going to get the 5 quick steps to like whatever, changing your life or running an ultra marathon. All right.
You're right, Jenny.
So looking at your life now, what would be one piece of advice that you would go, like if you were to go back to your 18-year, if you were sitting across the table from your 18-year-old self, what would be one piece of advice you'd give her, given all the stuff you've gone through now? And
man, she wouldn't listen anyway because she's stubborn little thing. But the biggest piece of the puzzle for me as a woman would be stop looking for a man to fix you. I spent 20 something years, you know, in and out of bad relationships, marriage fell over, blah, blah, blah. And I put so much focus on the relationships, on sacrificing myself for a man, fitting in with them, thinking I'm not worthy because, you know, of whatever. I thought I was unattractive. I thought I was this. I thought I was that. All of those things, if I could go back now and just say, freaking find out who you are first, girl, and go and have some experiences. Don't worry about that stuff because, you know, and that's very easy to say from a place where I am now, which is in a beautiful relationship with a marriage with a beautiful man. But it took me 45 years to find him.
So there's hope for us all.
Oh, yeah. There's hope. The biggest thing is like that you don't sell yourself short, that you don't, you know, I had some questionable relationships with people that were really not, looking back now, not good enough. Not good enough. They didn't respect me. They didn't put me first. They treated me badly. And that you should not ever accept. It doesn't mean you have to be a precious, like, you know, I'm not talking about a man should do this or a man should do that. I'm just talking about the quality of the person. Are they there? Are they dedicated to you? Are they respecting you? Are they treating you like that you should be treated? That's what's important. Not how they look, not how exotic they are, not how adventurous they are, not how big their bank account is. None of that means jack shit. What really counts is what is their real value as a person and how do they really treat you and what's their real, you know, I just spent way too much energy on relationships that weren't worthwhile. And if I could go back and replay some of those or erase some of those, then you'd never be who you are now. So, you know.
Yeah. It's a catch-22, right? Like you look back at some of those things and you go, oh, I wish I hadn't. And then you go, yeah, but if I hadn't, then who would I be today?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I just girls, whoever you are listening out there, if you're a young girl, just love yourself first. You are beautiful. You are awesome. You are okay as you are. And then go from there and build your confidence in yourself and your own abilities. Be your own person first before, you know, diving in and sacrificing and giving. And if you do find someone that respects you and loves you, then hold on for dear life. Because it's not that jokes.
That's awesome. I would always finish up on saying, you know, what's one message for women out there if they want to have more fun and adventure in their lives? But I feel like you kind of just nailed it in that. So, yeah. It's so amazing. And I'm super excited because I know that you, we tried to tee up a time to catch up earlier and you're like, oh, I'm so slammed at the moment because you're also writing another book, which is coming out, which is freaking awesome. So
I can't wait for it to be out in the world. This has been 2 years in the coming.
Wow. And what a title. Like,
yeah, Relentless is the title. And it's a story, it's just my story with Mum, but more than just a story, you know, about rehabilitation and neuro rehabilitation and stuff. It's about taking on massive odds. It's about overcoming obstacles. It's about self-belief. It's about having faith in the world and going all in. So there's a lot of stories that I share. You know, the running stories are partly in there as well. But it's a book that I think will appeal to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And it's an inspiring story. My mum is a rock star, and if I didn't have, like, I had this determination to get her back, but once she started to come around and actually remember who she was and so on, then she got the bit between her teeth too, and she's as determined as I am, and that was a perfect storm, you know. And if you're facing really bad odds with your loved one in a medical situation, just don't give up, and don't take every doctor's word for it as being the gospel. They are, you know, they are often trained in a certain area, or they see a certain type of person. They also have limited time to go and research the latest stuff. They also don't want to give you false hope, but often they take away all hope. And it's up to you not to accept that and to fight with everything you've got. what the outcome will be, you don't know. But don't give up. Don't give up early. That's all I can say.
Well, I have to say, like, this conversation has gone in a direction that I had like no idea that it would, and it has been a freaking pleasure just to talk about like things like our beliefs, neuroplasticity, being really unreasonable with the expectations that we put out there into life, and all about loving yourself. So, which seems like such a far shift from the ultramarathon stuff which we started in with, but it dovetails in so much because, I guess ultramarathons, it's a long game, and life is a long game. So it's like the two really do mirror each other, and going through, I'm sure that I've never done an ultramarathon. So, it's like
too long, you will.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, well, moving to Christchurch, that's like everybody ultramarathons here. And I'm just like, I'll just do like 10Ks, which is building up now. And it's just like, you can feel the call. Like, tempted to do the Crater Rim, which is 21, and it's just like, even if I just walked part of it, it would just be
in every ultra I've done, there's been walking involved. Don't get the conception that we run the entire thing.
Yeah. And that's what everyone has said, because I think there's that belief of like, I'm going to be the only one not running.
No.
Like, there's plenty of walking. So
do it, and come and join us. So we've got an online run coaching family, obviously running hot. We can get you there, mate. We can get you there.
Oh, that's so awesome. So if anyone wants to reach out to you just to talk to you about either some stuff that you do, like your speaking stuff, your book, because I know that you can go and pre-register for the release of it if you jump onto your website as well right now. So
please, anybody who is interested in the book, on my website lisatamiti.com, there's a little banner at the top that you can click and then just sign up so that I can let you know when the book releases and invite you to book launches and so on. And we do a whole lot of programs. I've got a Mindset Academy, which is an online course all around mental toughness and resilience, so teaching all this sort of stuff. We've got our Running Hot coaching, which is training people from beginners right up to elite ultramarathoners on a really holistic system so that you don't break yourself. And then we have epigenetics testing too, which is a really fascinating area if you're wanting more personalized health, so that you know what how to train yourself, what to eat and everything for your genes. So that's a really exciting thing that we're into too. So all of those things, and I also do a jewelry line, and I've also got a couple of other books and a ton of documentaries actually, Senka. I was going to say, hey, we can send some links out to some of those documentaries.
Oh, would love that. Let's talk about that and see what we can do to help share that out. So
that's because I just want women, you can do so much more than you think you can. And see that Crater Rim, whatever it's called, you can
God damn it, now I've got to do it because I put it out there.
You did, you're buggered now, you have to do it.
I'll get a message from you, Senka, did you do the Crater Rim? I have to now, don't I?
You do.
But that's it. I can, and this is the thing, going to everything that we've just talked about. If I tell you what, here's a commitment then. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. If I can still book a ticket, like if I can get a place, and I'm in Christchurch, I will do it, because I can feel myself just wanting to cry about it, because it's such a stretch that I'm like, what if I come last? I can feel my fear coming up. So it's like, if I don't commit to something like this, if I back down, then it's like, I just have to keep proving to myself that I can do these things, and I feel like crying because I just said it out loud.
And I'll give you a commitment, because you give me one. I'll give you access to my online run training, and we'll get you there. All right?
Oh,
you have access to all the programs and the stuff, and we'll make sure you get there in a single piece.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I can feel it. So this, ladies, is what it takes. Like this is what fear looks like. Like I'm smiling, but underneath I'm shitting myself. So
when is the race? How long have we got?
I have to look it up. So I don't think it's actually that far away. So
even better. I once took a guy from half marathon to 250 Ks in 3 weeks. Not that I would mean that was
totally
days, and it was silly, but we did. So
he's one of those crazies that we were talking about at the start.
Oh, very average. The thing is, I wouldn't do that again, because psychologically it's really hard to then go back and actually build a proper foundation.
Yeah.
But, in other words, but we can get you to half marathon in a couple of months.
Shish kebab. All right, it's done now. It's out there in the universe. Thanks. If anyone else wants to commit to some crazy stuff like that, feel free. And that's awesome. And please let us know when you come to Christchurch. You do your book release, and I assume you'll do one down here in Christchurch.
Well, I don't know yet, but
if you do,
I'll try and do one now that you've.
Yeah, if you do, we've definitely got you back down here. We'll share the shit out of it. So
okay, I'll find a place down there to have one now.
So let's do any final words before I get off the call for anyone any women that's watching this and they want to do something like make a commitment to a thing that like what I've just done now scares you and excites you all at the same time. Any final words for women that are like that?
Just take the bull by the horns, like if you're feeling that scary, I'm going to cry feeling, then do it. Like life is short. Find a way, surround yourself with people who will back you. Get rid of anyone who's telling you that you can't do something. Find people who will tell you that you can do something. Have some self-belief. Get some good coaches and mentors because they can shortcut the process for you, and then believe in them. If they're good coaches, they'll get you there. Doesn't matter who they are, it'll shortcut the process. And just take the life by the bull by the horns, because you won't regret the stuff that you had a crack at and failed at. Like for me, failure is not a word that I'm scared of. Failure is just a feedback mechanism. It means I didn't do it right this time, and it means I will be able to do it right next time. It's just a stepping stone. So don't let failure be something that holds you back from having a crack at something. Try and mitigate everything and try and prepare for it, but just go for it. Don't live half pie. Go all in.
Perfect. I think that's what we're going to call this interview is
Go all in.
Go all in, because that's just been a really strong message through this entire thing, that life is meant to be lived to all its juicy, full, scary, fun experiences.
It is. And that's what we're here for. We don't want to get to old age and going, well, that was boring.
Awesome. Lisa, it's been a total pleasure. I guess we're going to be in touch then, given I've got to let you know when this race is on. But till then, thank you so much for just sharing everything. Like I said, we came in on ultra marathons and we went out on self-belief and self-love. And that's the kind of journeys that I love to have with amazing women like you that are really making a difference to, other people's lives and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing just everything that you've taken away from all the amazing adventures and experiences and some really tough, challenging experiences in life. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Senka. Thank you for making this platform and doing this for other women. It's fantastic. I love the thought that the sisterhood helps each other. I think we're not here to compete against each other. We're here to help each other. And that's what this sort of platform is a fantastic way to do that. So hopefully it encourages some other people to get out there and have a crack at it.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Senka.
Bye.
Bye.